All right, guys, we're back in the lounge. This is episode 3. I'm Jake ELLENBOGEN, and I have with me Ariel Epstein, who I actually first met on Yankees Unloaded, my other show I do with my co-host Gary Sheffield Jr. Ariel is the prop queen, sports betting host / analyst for the MLB Network and NBA TV. Ariel, how's it going? And welcome in.
Going great. Cold here in New York, unfortunately, but glad to be with you again. I've known Gary for a few years, so coming on a podcast, meeting people for like the first time is always hilarious. And I was telling you also, apologies in advance, I'm house sitting my parents' house. My brother gets out of school as we're recording this, so he's probably going to come in and my dogs are probably going to go crazy.
Hey, it happens. I'm also in New York, so yeah, it's definitely I'm over the cold. Like I'm over the cold as soon as the cold happens, to be fair. And
as soon as New Year's is over, I'm over it.
Yeah, I like it. Like I don't like it at all, actually. But like with the snow, for instance, I like it as like if I look outside on like Christmas Eve or
Right,
like
the
around that,
holidays.
like cool, like sick, but I don't want to actually step in it. I don't want to have to drive in it,
I don't want to feel it.
I don't want to feel it. So yeah, we're both in the wrong states for that, evidently, as we're recording this in January. Speaking of which, you were just in the cold. You were at the Ravens game. I saw you had gotten.
My brother.
Yeah,
he's 17, so we're 13 years apart, same parents. We have a sister in between, but she doesn't really love sports. So my brother and I, my dad actually and my mom went to Peru this week. My brother was all upset because me and him actually have never been to a Ravens-Steelers game before. When the Ravens beat the Browns and everything happened to which the Ravens were going to play the Steelers in the first week of the playoffs, my brother came to me and goes, "So we're going to go, right? Like, we've never been to Ravens-Steelers. We're going to go." I said, "Why do you think you're just going to go? Like, who are you? You're 17. You can't afford it. And it's going to snow and dad's away. Like, who do you think's taking you to this game?" All along, I knew I was taking him. I had tickets and everything. I put it on my socials, like this whole video surprise that we did for him. But 2 days went by, and you probably remember yourself at 17 when sports was, and still sports is everything to us. But when you're 17, it feels like your world's going to end. And he, for 2 days, from Sunday to Tuesday, was moping around the house. And I was here because I was home with my parents for the week. And my mom looked at me and goes, "We have to tell him." I said, "Mom, I want to wait until like Thursday." She goes, "We have to tell him. I can't watch him anymore. He's miserable. He thought he was actually getting a chance to go to the Ravens-Steelers game. You keep telling him he's not. This was like his dream to go." She made me tell him. It was so funny. So yeah, my brother and I went to the Ravens game. It was cold, but we were dressed in so many layers, and the Ravens were crushing it. We didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be crazy to see Derrick Henry, on this team, because I mean, for the longest time, it's like, yeah, they had some good running backs and the whole thing with J.K. Dobbins, but I mean, Derrick Henry's a different animal. He
the
hit
Ravens
30
haven't
and
had
just
a running
ran
back this good since essentially Ray Rice. That was the last time they really had a number one true back, Pro Bowl back. Derrick Henry used to crush the Ravens. I'm talking 200-yard games like every time. Getting someone on your side who hurt you bad is the best feeling to watch. I loved what Lamar Jackson, Ravens quarterback, said after the game in the press conference when asked about Derrick Henry. He compared Henry to Lightning McQueen from Cars. It was hilarious.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's always been a guy that I loved watching, and I love Lamar Jackson. I've loved him since Louisville. I remember being at the Senior Bowl and like that year and just hearing from these people. Like I heard NFL execs talk about how like, yeah, I see him more as a wide receiver, and I'm just like eavesdropping on these conversations.
Running back.
Like, wide receiver, running back. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's my number one quarterback in the draft. Like, and it was just
in
like,
Ozzie we trust. That's what we say in Ravens flock. In Ozzie we trust. Ozzie Newsome, the Ravens GM of the past. It's now Eric DeCosta, but DeCosta was under Ozzie and learned from him. It was the best. Think about it. Imagine that's like your last move as GM. Ozzie was retiring that year, and it's Lamar Jackson in the last pick of the first round to trade up into.
He was at the Senior Bowl. I actually sat in the box during the practices. He was like right in my row. So I heard him going over prospects with Reggie McKenzie, actually. So it's wild. But you know what else is wild? Like your career. I mean, you're killing it. So how the hell did you get into this? And like, I mean, what led you to, MLB Network and the NBA TV route? Because this is awesome stuff.
It's such a long story. I'm going to try to simplify it.
You don't have to. You could do the long story. That's what this show's for. I love
telling the story because I tell it to everyone who's in their early 20s, just getting out of college. I tell the story to people even in college. So the sports betting thing was something I never imagined. I mean, it wasn't even legal until after I graduated college outside of Vegas. So I graduated college 2016. 2017 was when PASPA got repealed and you were able to sports bet outside of Vegas. And that's when FanDuel and DraftKings all launched. I was in local news as a sports anchor. I graduated Syracuse 2016, went a few months later the local news route where I was a sports anchor in New Bern, North Carolina for WCTI. I had really cool experiences though. Like I got to cover the Little League World Series. I got to cover Carolina Panthers with Cam Newton, UNC Duke with Coach K and Roy Williams. Like I had all these different schools and really cool experiences down there. I was like, okay, I'm leaving local news. Like I left North Carolina in 2019 and I could not get a job. And I was trying all different avenues, social media. I was trying, local news again, applied to Cincinnati and Louisville and Arizona. I was like finalist in all of them and never got the job. I was just networking my butt off. I moved home to my parents' place in New York, was making no money, hired a broadcasting coach, Joe Montgomery. She's awesome. So she told me to go into the minor league baseball world. So I got a job with the Rockland Boulders, was making $100 a weekend in 2019. I was practicing a lot. Got a tripod for my iPhone, a lav mic, all that stuff, and was getting the reps in and really working with the broadcast coach. So then August, I was networking through Syracuse people. This man, Kieran Portley, used to be the head of CBS Sports HQ. He said to me, I really like you. You're not ready for CBS. Come in though and we'll do a whole mock audition for you. He really did. He brought in analysts. He brought in a co-host. He got me video. He had me write scripts. Like he really just did it to give me the experience of being at a network. The most life-changing thing he did to me that day, which he has no idea that this would do, he had me read a money line off a graphic. And I was like, I love fantasy sports, but sports betting hasn't taken off yet. Again, this is 2019. Sports betting wasn't big yet. It was just getting legalized within the last couple years. So let me study sports betting. So now I get this job at Sports Grid. I DM on LinkedIn, I messaged the CEO of Sports Grid, which at the time was just a YouTube channel for sports betting. And I was like, hey, you have no females at your network. Would love to work with you guys. I knew about the network through a mutual friend, but seriously, you look on their website, looks like you'd buy a fake ID off it. It was really sketchy. If I didn't know someone there, I would have never applied because you would have thought you'd get murdered. I really was like, okay, sports betting, I'm going to own this thing. And that's where the props came in because I didn't really know sports betting well enough yet to think like a sharp. I knew fantasy sports, and I always call that like the gateway drug into betting, which is a bad thing to say. People don't like when I say it, but it's fine. So that was kind of how I killed time was I know the props market because it's like fantasy. So everyone started calling me the prop queen. I thought it was horrible. I hated it. Hated the prop queen name. It was like, don't call me that. That's so corny. So my broadcast coach and my parents were like, own that. That's a brand. Own it. So prop queen's now trademarked. So that's how I got into sports betting. And that was all right before COVID. And then in COVID, everything kind of took off because so many people weren't working. And I give Sports Grid a ton of credit for this. They kept us on air. We all built home studios the first week of COVID. So while everyone was sold out of stuff by the time they got that idea 2 months later, we were already still up and running. And I got stuff before everything was on Amazon. Like I got a new webcam, green screen, lights, all that stuff. And I built it in my childhood bedroom. So that was all going on. That's how I got into betting. But the MLB story is the craziest one. And it kind of all comes together. I feel bad. I'm talking a lot.
No, this is what it's for. Keep talking.
So now flashback to 2014-ish. MLB Network comes to Syracuse, and I'm in college. They were interviewing seniors to interview for production jobs. I was a junior. I still waited in line. I don't care what age they want me to be. I'm going to meet these people. Who knows if they ever come back? I go there, I meet the executives, and they said, okay, we're going to take you to the next step. I said, I have to admit, I'm a junior. I'm sorry. I just really wanted to meet you. They go, okay, no problem. Keep our emails, keep in touch. So I kept in touch with them for a year. A year later, they messaged me that they're coming back to Syracuse. I meet with them again. MLB Network comes to Syracuse. I interview with them. They said, we want to take it to the next step. I said, great. So I interview with them at MLB Network. They show me around. They said, listen, we would love to hire you and we will offer you the job. You want to be on air and you will never make it out of the production room onto air if you come here and work for us. So please go to local news, get your reps in, keep in touch with us, and we promise you'll end up back here someday. This was 2015, 2016.
Wow.
So now I get the job in local news. All that stuff happens that I kind of prefaced before. Now, 2020, Sports Grid gets onto SiriusXM. I was one of the first shows FanDuel ever sponsored, and one of the first shows like that Sports Grid launched on SiriusXM. Nobody was working, so it was like a really easy in getting. FanDuel needed content, Sirius needed content, MSG Network needed content. All these stations were coming at us, hey, come do gambling content for us. So we said, okay, cool. So my show, The Morning After, launches on all those networks. Matt Viscursion, who people know for like his voice on MLB The Show, he also is one of the main voices of Major League Baseball, works at MLB Network. He was driving into work one day, turned on SiriusXM, and heard me talking about betting baseball. He went to MLB Network, said to the executives, this girl, Ariel Epstein, she sounds really smart and knows her stuff, and I could tell it's like her handicapping, her work. We should hire her as our sports betting analyst at MLB. Like, it's blowing up. Sports betting, we really should do. The executive he said that to looks at him and goes, like blonde Ariel Epstein? Like Syracuse University? He goes, I don't know. They said, there has to be. So they like looked me up. Turns out the MLB exec goes, we've known her since she was in college. We promised she'd get back here one day. Maddie, you like her? He goes, yeah. They brought me to lunch, the executives with Maddie. We shook hands. Maddie looked at them and said, yep, that's good. I didn't even audition. I got the job on the spot. So that's how I ended up at MLB Network, was on networking and just weird coincidences.
That is so cool. I love Matt Vescursion. He's got the best voice for baseball. I mean, him and Michael Kay are like my favorite.
He's the most underrated, Matty V, the most underrated voice in sports. He is so talented and amazing to work with. I never could have enough nice things to say about him because he makes everyone around him better. There's
somebody on the NFL side of it that I would say is just as underrated. Charles Davis. He is a fantastic color guy. Color. Obviously different, in a sense. I mean, Matty V knows his stuff, but he, play-by-play and everything. But the job, and they both video game announcers. Charles Davis was doing Madden. I don't know if I think they might have replaced him this time around, but sorry, I did not buy Madden 2025. But he was doing Madden, and then, of course, Matty V was doing the show. And they replaced him, and I haven't bought a show since. So, hey, it is what it is. But it's so funny because, like, I've talked to so many people. Obviously, Syracuse is, like, well-renowned as, like, the top place for broadcasting. I mean, I would assume because there's, I interviewed Andrew Siciliano. I believe that was last year. And, he's from there. And actually, my co-host for that show at the time, which was Believe in Rams, is actually Cameron Lynch. I don't know if you know him. You do? Okay. It's a good friend of mine.
I know of everyone's names. I might not know everyone personally. Yeah. It was fun, though, when Siciliano friended me on, like, social media. And he was like, us Cuse people have to stick together. I said, yeah. We all help each other. It's great. Adam Shine also.
It's really cool. I think... And I might be butchering this, but I'm pretty sure Adam Lefko. Pretty sure.
Yes.
Yes, because I talked to him years ago when I was just doing audio. And yeah, it's funny, same thing. Like, yeah, us Syracuse people have to stick together. I didn't go to Syracuse. I went to community college and I dropped out. So I don't have that, but hey, it's all good.
You didn't have the loans that I had, but thank God for paying those off.
Yeah, well, hey, I love your story so much, though, and I think it's so cool that, like, man, I always looked at, like, Matt Vasgersian as, like, he's probably a good dude, and he's really good at what he does, and just, like, hearing that, it was so, like, heartwarming to hear that, because, it's funny.
He's better than you think, actually. Like, the person you think
awesome.
Matt Vasgersian is, he's better.
And that's Charles Davis for me, because when I first went to the Reese's Senior Bowl, this is the first time I had ever gone on a plane without my parents. Like, this was me on my own.
Oh my God.
I paid my way to go to Mobile. Everyone was telling me, this is where you have to go. You are going to make, like, these connections, because it's not about who you know. It's about who knows you. And based on your story, it's exactly that. But I went there and I didn't know anybody. Like, I knew people on Twitter that said they want to meet up, but, like, they don't have their face in their profile. So it's like, how am I supposed to know who's who? And I'm on a bench just chilling there. Like, I was texting somebody who I knew. It was, probably 2 hours away, and was waiting for them. And I get tapped on the shoulder. He's like, Jake, it's Charles Davis. How you doing? I had him on my show like a while ago, and he knew who I was. And the thing is, this is back when I had audio only. So the fact that he recognized me was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So I guess, like, he heard my voice or something and just, like, picked up on it. It was like, oh yeah, and I just met so many great people out there. But I think it's, to your point, and it's a great story, because I think there's so many people out there that are so scared to just take a chance, to just do some things. And, I could already hear it. Like, when you're talking about minor league baseball, there are people that would, like, roll their eyes at that, or local news. It's like, I don't want to do that. I want to just dive right into the big leagues. It's like, to your point, you kind of have to pay your dues. And it's a thing that, I love that you shared that, because I think that's really cool. And as far as, like, the whole, like, NBA thing, because, MLB and NBA, you're with and everything. And of course you're an NFL, you're a huge NFL fan, and you nailed it with the props. Like, do you feel like you're equally in love with all three, or do you feel like, maybe you're more baseball and you kind of like this and it, but, like, is there, like, an equal love for all three sports, would you say?
I have an equal love for baseball and football. Basketball, not as much, because even though I grew up in New York and I guess I'm a Knicks fan, my family, like, my dad's from Baltimore, so they didn't really grow up with the NBA. My dad moved to New York when he met my mom at University of Maryland. Mom said, you have to move to New York or else we're breaking up. So he moved to New York before they had me. My mom's not really a big sports fan. My dad loves sports, but he only grew up really with the Orioles and the Ravens. He wasn't like a Wizards fan or anything. So we only were like a baseball, football family. We rooted for Maryland in the ACC back then. That was about the extent of my basketball knowledge. So my love for basketball started with betting, actually. I love betting in NBA props. There are so many ways to win in NBA props. Basketball players don't change, especially once they're 2 years in the league. Typically, you're going to get like the same players, and they're not going to change their ways, and they're going to stay in the same spots and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, you'll have some switches, but the rotations change sometimes. So there are certain players and teams I don't like to bet on. For example, I don't like choosing between the centers in Cleveland, between Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Don't like to choose, because any given day, one's going to have 20 points and 8 rebounds, and another day one's going to have 25 points and 12 rebounds. So those are those situations you just have to know better. NBA props, though, I love. I actually enjoy betting NBA second most to baseball. Whereas the NFL, I love the NFL, diehard Ravens fan, enjoy betting the NFL for fun. I just know it's the sharpest market you're going to get in every which way. It is the only sport where every props market, for the most part, is pretty sharp. where like I can't tell you how many times I think I have an edge and then it loses. Whereas in basketball and baseball, typically where I know I'm going to win that bet, I'd say I win it 70% of the time. Football, I could go on streaks where I'm 10-0, and then I go on streaks where I'm 0-10, because that's all game plan, and it's very minimal amount of games. Basketball and baseball, the thing that's so great about betting, you have just as much time as the book to prepare, in the sense that like you've got 24 hours. Most of these games are happening on a 24-hour basis. NBA, you don't know up until 2 hours before tip who's playing. Baseball, it's really tough for the turnaround. So the book is just as much of a disadvantage as you are. When you give the book more time, like they have for football, they have all week to prepare just like you, the book's going to kill you. Not every time, but a lot of the times. That's where it gets tough. So I would say in order of watching, I love the NFL to watch. I could watch every single game nonstop and sit on my couch all day. Can't really do that for baseball every day. It's just too many games every day. I do sit there and watch a lot of it. Just can't watch as much of it. Again, if you put baseball in one day, I probably could, but not the same way like football is. So football I enjoy watching. Baseball I enjoy watching and betting. NBA I enjoy betting. So it's a mix of love for all different reasons across sports. And I have to tell you, hockey is the sport I enjoy being at.
Oh, yeah. Who's your hockey team?
Rangers.
Okay. I like the Devils and I like too, because I never had it's the one sport where I had no direction. Like my father just didn't have me going anyway. So I started off liking the Red Wings because when we played NHL, I think it was 98. My favorite color was red. I was born in 95. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you want from me? So then I choose the Red Wings. I end up liking them, and then their GM, Ken Holland, traded away everybody. And I was so pissed off. And then the Vegas Golden Knights came out of nowhere, and I was like, I'm going to jump on a bandwagon that doesn't actually exist right now. That's what I'm going to do. And so before they even had the draft, the expansion draft, I chose the Knights. My friend Kyle got me to go to my first game. He got us tickets. It was a lot of fun because he got me tickets. He's a Devils fan, and we go to the Rock, which is, that's what we call it. It's Prudential Center. But we go to the Rock, and I'm there decked out in Vegas stuff, and I'm just hyped because I'm like, this is my first hockey game. My first hockey game, I see my favorite player, Jonathan Marchessault, who's not with Vegas anymore, annoyingly. He has a hat trick, and they win in overtime. And I'm like,
my gosh,
I'm in love with this sport now, right? But I couldn't go to every Vegas game because they're in Vegas. This was kind of a one-off. And it got me into going, and he's like, do you want to go to Devils games? I know they're bad, but they're cheap. We're talking $5, $10, and they're decent seats. And I was like, sure. And I kept going, and I watched this team, and I got to know this team that was so bad, and I watched them become good in this ascension. So I ended up liking both teams. I know it's weird, but
That's so strange.
I'll so bizarre.
It actually reminds me of my first Ravens game, but not as great of a result. I was 13. My family friend gave me, as part of my bat mitzvah gift, Ravens-Browns tickets. We were sitting in his season ticket seats, actually, right behind. It's the second level behind one of the goalposts. And the game is, I'm trying to remember. I think it was that the Browns kicked a field goal. It was good. The ref said it was no good, the kick. And then the clock expired. I think the Ravens were winning, so I guess the Ravens won. My dad says to me, don't get up. They're going to call this back. There was not instant replay like that yet, so there wasn't challenges or anything. And it would have been under 2 minutes anyway. But they go and they review it. No joke, all the players are in the locker room. No one's on the field. Everyone's off. And everyone left the stadium except a few of us. My dad's like, I'm telling you, it's coming back. That kick was good. We saw it through our goalpost. That kick was good. So I'm sitting there as a little 13-year-old. Okay, let's sit and listen to Dad. Sure enough, you see Ray Lewis run out of the dug. I keep saying baseball references. You're in my baseball mode now. Ray Lewis comes running out of the locker room onto the field, no shirt on, screaming at the refs, screaming. My dad goes, I told you, they're coming back. So they bring everybody back on the field. This was already a half hour later, by the way. Like, it was a long wait. Everyone gets back on the field. Game goes to overtime. And the Ravens lose in overtime.
Oh.
That was my first football game ever.
That is wild. That I've never even heard of that. The closest
it was terrible.
thing.
My dad goes, welcome to being a Ravens fan. Because at this point, I was a Ravens fan. So it actually took a long time. Now that I think about it, I got to yell at my dad for that. It took a long time. That I was a Ravens fan kind of in 2000 when the Ravens beat the Giants here in New York. And I was a Yankees fan first. I was a Yankees fan around that time. Saw the whole dynasty. Loved Derek Jeter. And Ravens beat the Giants. So I said, okay, officially I'm going to be a Ravens fan with my dad. And then from 2000 to really like 2006, 2007, I mean, this team was not good. They had Kyle Buller as their quarterback. And it was just a disaster.
And the Rams grabbed him.
True. We had a lot of weird situations in the early 2000s in Baltimore. So my dad never really took me to a game until 2007, I guess. So it took a while. That was my first experience at a football game. I was at baseball games well before that. Football, though, 2007.
That is wild. Because the only thing I could think of is I think it was the playoff game. The Stephon Diggs catch against the Saints.
Oh, yes.
And he scores the game winner, and they don't kick the extra point because everybody's like, the game's over.
Yes,
they made everyone come out and line up for the extra point. And I'm like, all right, come on. Like, really? Like, do we really need to do that? And, like, you could see the Saints, they were so mad. It was, I mean, that's ridiculous. But, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Obviously, I went through very similar. I mean, I just was a Rams fan because my dad raised me to be that, because he grew up in Irvine, California, and when the Rams were in, LA or Anaheim or whatever, that's why he was a fan. And then my grandpa moved him and, the family to New York, and essentially that's how I exist. And that's the only New York team that I have, the Yankees. But aside from that, I'm all over the map. I mean, like, yeah, the Lakers and Rams, LA. I have a lot of family in Lawrence, Kansas, so I'm a Kansas Jayhawk fan. My uncle worked, I
just went to my first K-State KU game.
Oh.
In Manhattan.
You gotta go to Allen Fieldhouse. I have actually never been to a game, but I got on the floor after they had just lost to Kentucky in the championship. So,
yeah. Got it.
I mean, that sucked, cool, but it was cool. I've still never been to a KU game. I want to go.
Well, I went to football, so wasn't at basketball.
You went to that game.
Yeah, that game.
Oh my God. I left my folks' house to come back here and record, funny enough, to record with Gary, because we had a show to do, Yankees Unloaded. And I'm pretty sure, was that during the postseason?
That was, you mean during the Yankees postseason? Yes, it was right after game one. It was, the Yankees were playing that night. It was game one or two. Game two.
I went over to watch the playoffs with my parents, and then I was hustling back to, my apartment. And what's so not funny is that my dad turned on the Kansas game, and Kansas was winning, and essentially they were going to win. And then I don't know what happened between then, like me and leaving and getting here. And I look at my phone and I get the alert, K-State won. And I'm like, how did that happen? Like, this year was just, because I'm a huge Kansas football fan too, not just basketball. And it was just so painful because we had this expectation, 12-team playoff. Oh, they're going. This is the year. And they just could not catch a break. It's like everything that could go wrong.
That's what I've learned, apparently, is that KU always blows it in the end of the fourth quarter, at the end of a game. I was tortured because I don't really care. No offense to KU and K-State fans, don't really care. I have no affiliation with either school.
I get it.
Or the Big 12. But when I said yes to this was months prior because my best friend Kelly is a huge K-State fan. She went to K-State. She asked me months prior if I would go with her to K-State, KU. I said, yeah, of course I'll go because I love seeing new college towns. It's so fun. Fast forward, I think we booked that in July or August to go down. Fast forward, the Yankees are in the World Series. But I said I would cancel that trip if the Yankees were home. The Yankees, so now I'm rooting for the Dodgers to beat the Mets. First of all, I didn't even want a Yankees-Mets World Series. I had nothing to do with it because I knew the Yankees would lose to whoever they faced in the World Series. That team was not that good. I was rooting for the Dodgers because no way in hell was going to go to Manhattan, Kansas over Yankee Stadium in the World Series. That was a hell no for me. Instead, the Yankees do face the Dodgers, so the Dodgers get the first 2 games. The first game, I land in Kansas City. I'm waiting for Kelly's flight to get in. So I had to watch in the bar in the airport, game 1. Then Kelly came. We got our car. I'm watching on my phone. Keeps going in and out of service because we are literally in between Kansas City and Kansas, getting through the border where there's, if you've been there, absolutely nothing. My phone's going in and out. Now the Yankees, and I bet the Yankees that game too. The Yankees lose on that stupid, that I don't even need to talk about the walk-up grand slam, but it's fine. So that happened in the car. Now I throw my phone down. I'm like, whatever, I'm done with this team. Game 2 is in the middle of the K-State KU game. I'm sitting there. This is the biggest rivalry to these people in Manhattan, Kansas. Everyone in Manhattan, Kansas waits and has a countdown for this game because they just want to beat KU. I am surrounded by season ticket holders. These are Kelly's aunt's seats for 40 years. All their season ticket holders are surrounding us. And there's me watching the World Series on my which when I tell you, nobody cares about the World Series in Manhattan, Kansas. Everyone's looking at me. What are you doing? The World Series is on. I go, listen. I'm from New York. The Yankees are in the World Series, and I'm here right now. My friends are at a bar in New York, excited and watching this game. I am here. Then the Yankees blow that game. I said, oh, no. I'm sitting there, and Kelly's all excited because K-State's coming back, and they're beating KU and all this stuff. I'm just defeated because I know there's no way. So at that point in time, I go and I buy tickets for games 3 and 4.
Oh my God. Well,
imagine you're sitting there and everyone, and the same thing happened to me. I was in Florida. I booked this trip to Florida months ago to visit Kelly and all our friends down there. It was the Georgia-Texas game. In Florida, all anyone cares about is the Georgia-Texas game. I care about the Yankees and the Guardians in the ALCS.
Yeah.
Every TV is filled with college football games. I had to beg the owner of this bar down in Sarasota, Florida, please give me a TV or I am leaving. He gives me a TV, but no audio. It's Georgia-Texas audio. I sit there for 2 innings and I'm miserable. I looked at Kelly and said, I'm calling an Uber or you're driving me home. I'm done. I can't do this. And that was the game that the Yankees ended up with that was the game to clinch, to go to the World Series. That was the game to clinch the pennant. So it wasn't game 1, 2, 3. No. We're talking clinch pennant. And that was when we went to Kelly's house. She went to bed and I sat there alone on her couch watching this all happen. And the Yankees ended up going to the World Series. So yeah. Don't leave your state if you want to watch games and enjoy them. Stay where your fan base is.
Yeah, well, it's so funny. So I actually, I don't know if you can entirely, I guess, relate to this, but I guess for me, I want to bounce this off you. So I get asked all the time. I'm always offered tickets to go to Rams games, right? Come out to SoFi, go to this game, go to Arizona, the game against the Vikings. I always asked. And people look at me so crazy when I say, no, I already went to the game this year that I was going to go to. What, you don't want to go to more? I love watching football on TV. I really do. And more importantly, I love being able to go live right after. I love being in the comfort of my own home, and I can just go live, have the reaction, have the audience. And I feel like when I go to the game, it's going to take me like 3 hours to get back home or wherever home is at that point. And then who knows if, the connection and everything is going to be good like it would be at my apartment. Is that weird? Like, should I want to be going to games more? Like, I don't know.
It's not weird. A lot of people feel that way about football. I felt that way even with the Ravens-Steelers game last weekend in the wild card round, where I went home, said, I feel like I barely saw that game. And I watched the whole thing in person. I don't feel I take in as much because you're so caught up in the moment. You just want the high. You finally get home. You watch the highlights back on TV or on YouTube, whatever. Like, oh, yeah. Okay, It really generates better in your brain watching on TV for some reason for football. Football I can do, though, in the playoffs because you're going to be the only game on, essentially.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, though. A lot of people asked if I was going to go to Buffalo. I said no. I went to the game last week because I've never been to Ravens-Steelers. I wasn't going to go if it was Ravens-Chargers. Ravens-Steelers I wanted to see, and it's your house. Like, when you have to protect your stadium, you have to protect your house. I want to be there to help create that home field advantage for my team. Now going to Buffalo, I know Ravens fans are going to travel well. Everyone's excited to go to Buffalo. Every Ravens fan I know is going to Buffalo. Jimmy Seafood has packed 5 buses full of people going to Buffalo.
Oh, my God.
Insanity. The Ravens are going to travel well. I don't care so much about going to Buffalo. It's the divisional round. That's a hump already that the Ravens got over. I want to watch the Ravens get over the hump to go to the Super Bowl again. I want to watch the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Those are games to me worthwhile because you never know when you'll get back there. If the Ravens win the divisional round on the road. Now, if the Ravens were home against the Bills, I probably would have considered it. Again, protect my house. On the road, I don't need to go 7 hours to Buffalo, sit in 5-degree weather, then, pay for hotels, do all that thing. I would love to go if it was, all paid for, whatever. But realistically, I'm not paid for. I have to pay for it all on my own. When I'm allocating my playoff money and considering how Super Bowl tickets could be $10,000 plus flights plus hotels, I have to be smart about it. Again, if I was really rich and money didn't matter, or if work was paying for it, would I go and sit in 5 degrees? Absolutely. It's the divisional round. If the Ravens lose, I'm glad I didn't go. If the Ravens win, congratulations. We have another week to go find time for a game. That's what I want to see.
No, I get that. I definitely get that. I think, for me, I went to 2 Rams games this year. And I don't know why you want me to go to a Rams game anyway if you're a Rams fan. I was at the Eagles game. 3,000 miles of travel to watch them get absolutely trounced on live television. 37-20 in front of everybody. Saquon Barkley ran for 255 yards. I've never seen anybody dominate like that.
I would want redemption on the game I went to this year. Whereas with the Yankees, for example, I saw game 3. That was miserable. Game 4 was when the Yankees just demolished the Dodgers. The Volpe Grand Slam. Stadium was electric. I could have gone to game 5. I said, you know what? Even if they win game 5, they still have to go to LA. It's not a clincher for the Yankees. I saw the game that I wanted my season to end on. That was game 4. That's how I want to remember my Yankees experience was game 4. That's it. Game 5 cannot top game 4. I need game 4 to be it. So I went to Billy's across the street for game 5. So I went to the Bronx, was surrounded by Yankees fans. It was a really fun first 4 innings.
Yeah, it was.
I'm really glad I didn't go to game 5.
No. I remember the feeling the first 4 innings. Are they going to do this thing? You start to get that kind of delusional feeling, and maybe it wasn't delusional. If they win that game, who knows? Maybe they go and they do the impossible. Sports are like that. Do you believe in miracles, Al Michaels? But at the same time, it was I enjoyed them being back in the World Series. I think they will go back again. It is, at least it was like we finally ended that streak. It was starting to feel like the Dallas Cowboys, and I was just I wasn't having fun. But
especially from the year before that, when the Yankees didn't even make the playoffs, I was not having fun.
No. I mean, it's weird because it's like Yankee fans are spoiled in a sense, but it's not like Cashman spending Dodger money. You know what I mean? Like, spoiled in a sense where a bad season's 82 and 80, not 50 wins or whatever.
Not the Pirates.
Yeah, but I mean, who cares, right? When you have $300 million in, spending or whatever, and that's what you do, it's not ideal. I will say I did end my Rams season. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't need to go to another Rams game this year. I went to the Jets game, and they won that game. That was the coldest game in the Sean McVay era, and they won. It was ugly. It was 19-9, and it was like one of the second coldest day of my life. The first coldest day was in Buffalo, I could tell you, I think it was 2012. And I watched Sam Bradford mount a last-second comeback against Ryan Fitzpatrick. It was the coldest day of my life. So honestly, no, you shouldn't go to Buffalo. It is way too cold, especially this time of year. It's insane.
Cold. And I went to school at Cuse. My sister went to UB, so we know how cold it gets.
Oh, yeah.
Brother's home, by the way. I'm shocked it took 48 minutes. He was probably killing time when I told him that we were doing this. There's 2 dogs, too, so it's a complete, just like, a cappella group.
Hey, hey, it is what it is.
My life.
No, it's funny. I mean, and then there are Rams fans that want me to go to the Eagles game. Are you kidding me? I like having my life intact. Like, I don't want to go and get beat up by a fan.
Eagles fans.
Like, come on. I already saw the Eagles fans at SoFi, which, by the way, they were fine. Like, but
they weren't in their
Philly, being in Philly during the playoffs, I don't know.
It's actually funny. There were a lot of Steelers fans that came up to us in Baltimore last weekend who said, "You guys were nicer than I thought you'd be. In fact, I wish you were meaner. I was coming here prepared to fight."
All right. What a wacky thing to say.
I will tell you my funniest thing was I went to Boston. I have to think of how old I was. I went to Boston with my grandparents. We toured for a while we tried a different stadium each year. One year we did Fenway, and they weren't even playing the Yankees. I forget who they were playing, but they weren't playing the Yankees. And I went in a Yankee shirt. That was my dream, was to go to Fenway in a Yankees t-shirt. I was that fan wearing an irrelevant jersey to a game that the team, I hate that when people just wear an irrelevant jersey when no one's playing in that game. But mine made more sense. It was the Yankees, but I got a lot of crap. People were telling me, people were making all these jokes and innuendos and all this stuff. My grandpa was like, "This was a bad idea." I said, No, it was a great idea. What are they going to do? Punch me? I'm 14. No, they're not going to kill me. It's fine. But yeah, I definitely got a lot of crap in Boston.
Oh man. Yeah, I've gotten some crap in Boston before, so it is what it is. I also got crap in LA for wearing a Yankees hat. So, there's also that too.
You gotta feel bad for them though. If you're the Dodgers who just beat the Yankees in the World Series, you should feel bad for the person in the Yankees hat. It'd be more if it was the opposite.
They hate the Yankees. They hate.
I was
the
part
Yankees.
of that. I was in that parade by accident with the Dodgers fans that stormed Yankee Stadium in the middle of the summer when the Dodgers came to town. I couldn't believe that whole parade that they put on, and they do it at every stadium on the road apparently. That's
crazy. What's the craziest story that you can tell on this show?
Professionally or as a fan?
Either. Whatever,
I would say my craziest story. So Derek Jeter was my icon, growing up. He's the first person that I fell in love with sports with. My grandpa and my dad went to opening day one year, brought me a Jeter jersey. The rest was history. I fell in love with Jeter and the rest of the Yankees after that. So I'd always love to thank Jeter for that. I met him when I was 12. My grandparents, for my bat mitzvah present, got me into a baseball clinic with Jeter, Tino Martinez, and Ron Guidry. And I wasn't even a good softball player, but I played really well that day. Whatever. So that was the first time I met Jeter. Then I meet him at the Yankees homecoming dinner it was 2010. It was right after they won the World Series in 2009. So I met Jeter and I had him sign the picture of us from the clinic. Now, in 2015, I get an internship with the Yankees. So Jeter's retired at this point. He retired 2014. They were retiring Jorge Posada and Andy Pettit's jerseys in the same weekend. One was Saturday, one was Sunday. So the first day, all of my legends are coming back. I mean, A-Rod was still on that team, but it was like Matsui came, Torrey came, Jeter came, that whole crew. The whole core four is there, Bernie, all of them. So they have me off me and the people at Yankees video productions crew. We were switching off who was going to do the interviews. They all didn't really care to do the interviews because they were just production people. I always loved doing the interviews. I was just an intern, though. I was just going into senior year of college. So Jeter was coming in that day, but something happened where he couldn't do the interview Saturday, so he had to do it Sunday. So now it's the second day of Derek Jeter, and my bosses are like, okay. I said, listen, I need you to do me a favor. This is my last weekend of the internship, and I've worked really hard all year. Can my reward be that I get to interview Derek Jeter? They said, yeah, but you have to do one thing. I said, what? They go, we couldn't grab him yesterday. So it's your job to make sure that you grab him and tell him yes and ask him to do this interview. So it's your job to get him. So I said, oh, no. I said, okay, I'll try my best. So luckily I've met him before, so it wasn't a first time, but it was still a daunting task to get him to come over and do an interview. You know, Jeter, he doesn't really like doing media stuff.
Yeah.
So I know where the players come in since I worked with them all summer. So I know where the players come in from the parking garage. I wait, and I finally see him come in, and I go, hi, Derek. I'm Ariel. I'm an intern here. My job right now is to get you to come over and do this interview for us. So can you please do the interview so I look good for my bosses? And he looks at me, he goes, yeah, sure. Of course. I remember I had to do that yesterday. So what do you need me to do? So he comes over. My boss goes, great. Step 1 done. Step 2, put the microphone on him. I go, you've got to be kidding me. So I had to get the microphone on him. And then we do the interview. It all goes well. Afterwards, we all go onto the field. So he walks with me onto the field for the ceremony. I'm thinking, okay, that was the last of this. This was a really cool day. I got to interview my idol. That's awesome. We're walking off the field. Now, all the media has to go through the away team dugout. The Yankees staff can go through the home team dugout. So since we were Yankees staff, we walked through the Yankees dugout to get into the clubhouse to walk back into the media area. Jeter comes up to me from the field. I see him find me, puts his arm around me, and he's like, and mind you, he's with Hannah Jeter at this time. That's not what I'm getting at, but he puts his arm around me. He's like, keep going for your dreams. I just want, he's like, I wanted to tell you that before I left. I just wanted you to keep going for your dreams. Great job getting this internship. The people here know how to get in touch with me. If you ever need anything, just ask them to get in touch with me because it's awesome that you're doing what you love, and take it from me, continue to live out your dreams. And that was it. It was almost like a ghost that says that to you and then walks into the abyss, because that was it. That was the last time I've seen him. But yeah, so getting your idol to tell you that when you're 20 years old and just about a year left of college, it was the coolest sports moment of my life, and that was only at 20.
Nothing is going to top that. That's crazy. You're talking about your idol, and then having these interactions and then having him say that. I mean, he didn't have to be like that. So that's so cool, and it's so inspiring too, for you in that moment, to your point, because you said you're 20 and you're still in college, and you have your idol come up to you and be like, yeah, by the way, you're good at this, keep going. Like, it's like, okay.
And
yeah.
it was a moment that when you interview people, a lot of the times, people will get starstruck, especially with big names like your own idol. The fact that I was able to do that at 20, I said nothing will ever be hard for me again in regards to stars.
That's a great point.
Struck and everything. We had, what was it, last year? So now I'm at MLB Network since 2022. So I met really cool people at MLB Network because we bring athletes in all the time. Albert Pujols came in last year. It was like he's our co-worker, shaking hands, introducing himself to everyone as if he needed an introduction, but that's besides the point. So the coolest moment at MLB Network, which I'm glad I had the Jeter experience for, because again, nothing can top the Jeter experience. So I got flown actually from PointsBet, who I worked for at the time. PointsBet flew me to sit courtside for Lakers Nuggets and do social media in their courtside seats. It was freaking awesome for the Western Conference Finals.
That's awesome.
I got asked to do that on, let's say, Tuesday, to go fly out Thursday morning, go to the game Thursday night. We had Pedro Martinez on our show Friday at MLB Network. There was no way in hell I was missing that. A whole hour on Off Base on MLB Network with Pedro Martinez on our show. But I'm also sitting courtside for Lakers Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals.
That's so
I
tough.
got myself a 6 a.m. flight out of Denver on Friday morning after the game. We were out till like 2 in the morning. So now it's 6 a.m. flight. I slept 2 hours. I got on the plane. Luckily, there was no issues. I did the 6 a.m. in case there was any delays. We ended up being delayed like an hour in the air. I land. I got a car to take me. I got an Uber to take me from the airport. I forget. I think I would land in JFK all the way to Secaucus, New Jersey, which is like an hour and a half, 40-minute drive. I get to MLB Network just in time, like for makeup, which was like 2:30. Our show's at 4. So 2:30, I'm running in and I sit down in the makeup chair. I'm like, okay, I'm here. Let's go. Pedro walks in. He goes, Ariel, I'm so excited to work with you. I've seen your stuff. You do such a great job. Like, you're really smart with betting stuff. This is awesome. I can't wait. I looked at him. I go, I hated you. He goes, I get that all the time. We had a great show with him. He's probably one of the nicest, funniest people I've ever met in sports. He's so awesome. I looked at him after the show. I said, Pedro, I'm so sorry. I hated you for so many years.
Oh my God. That's amazing. You have some stories. I mean, I think with the Jeter one, I kind of liken that to, I mean, not the same, but it was kind of cool because I actually met my hero. They tell you don't meet your heroes, right? I have a story for that. I will not actually divulge who that is because, that was an interview fairly recently. Not that recently, but yeah. Anyway, Kurt Warner. Oh, wow. Huge Rams fan, obviously, my whole life. Kurt Warner goes to the Giants. I live in upstate New York. At the time, the Giants are at Giants training camp is at UAlbany, and my dad takes us, my brother and I. And I'm rocking a Yankees jersey, and I'm so young. I mean, it is 2004, so I'm like, I don't know, I can't do math. So 9 years old maybe, and I have that picture still, wearing a Yankees jersey. Meeting Kurt Warner. My brother's in his Rams Kurt Warner jersey. Oh my God. And we have the picture with him. And we got the picture because it was supposed to be just autograph signing. And he said he signed so many autographs, his hand hurt so badly he couldn't sign another one, but he would take a picture with us. So it was really cool. And it was such a sign of the times. It was him, Chad Pennington, because they had a joint practice with the Jets.
That was my friend's favorite quarterback when we were like 9.
God. Well, apparently a lot of people, because my brother little brother, 4 years old, got pinned against a gate because Chad Pennington came out and everybody was going crazy for him. But it doesn't just end there. Eli Manning is a rookie. And the people that randomly, everybody was so obsessed with this guy. I didn't understand at the time. Now I get it. Jesse Palmer, because The Bachelor. He was the third string quarterback, and he had all these people around him. But it was so cool because I get to meet Kurt Warner. I get that picture. I have it for years. And then I get him on my show. And it was just, it was crazy. And he drops the news that he's going to have the movie that he ends up having, the American Underdog, on our show. That was not like out there yet. So it was so cool when he was like, yeah, we're actually working on a movie for because I said like, there's never going to be a better story ever.
How'd you get him on your show?
Just reached out to his publicist. And, you know, that was a big thing, I think, for me when I first started all of this, is that I wasn't afraid to just be told no. And I mean, like I do so much work with like draft prospects and it'd be like, oh, like, and I'm sure I could look back at like the DMs that I sent. They look ridiculously bad, but it would just be like, oh, I'm such a big fan of like your tape and would love to have you on. And one of the biggest names that came on my show was George Kittle. Yeah, I reached out to him. I said, you have the greatest tape I've ever seen for a tight end prospect ever. Like he was insane. He just never was utilized in the passing game. So he fell to the 5th round. And I was praying to God the Rams would draft him. Didn't happen. But George Kittle comes on, and I do not have a show at this point. I'm just trying to interview people, like try to make something. I do not have a podcast that I'm claiming I have. I just wanted to interview and see what happened. I, not even kidding you, bought a call recorder app, asked my parents for money because I didn't have the money for it, bought the $10 call recorder app on my iPhone, and I recorded the call that way. And the interview quality is so bad. Like I reposted it on my YouTube and I tried so hard to like edit it. It's so bad. It's just, but he was such a nice guy. And like, it was so cool to be able to interview him.
That's the right time to get people though. Yeah. That's what I loved about working in local news. We were saying earlier, a lot of people don't like to go to local news. It's hard to move from New York to middle of nowhere somewhere. Start
Absolutely.
Small. What I got the most out of working in local news, especially where I was in Eastern North Carolina, there are so many athletes there between the high schools, between ECU. And I'm not talking even the Triangle in Charlotte because that wasn't really our market. I'm talking Greenville, North Carolina, New Bern, North Carolina, Jacksonville, Tarboro. Todd Gurley was big at that point. Brandon Ingram is from, Todd. Brandon Ingram, who is from Kinston, North Carolina. Jerry Stackhouse from Kinston, North Carolina. That's a basketball mecca. ECU baseball, Alec Burleson, Gavin Williams, who all just came up recently. Connor Norby just came up recently, covered all of them in college. There are so many athletes. I could tell you, Bruce Carter, who was a linebacker. I mean, so many people are from this area. It is a black hole. I always say, like, you just don't understand. People come from there out of this abyss. Where did they come from? It's Eastern North Carolina. I met, like, it was just Brandon Ingram's dad's birthday. I just spoke to him and said, happy birthday. You get to know these people so that when they do come up, for example, Gavin Williams, I watched him make his college debut out of the bullpen. I watched him with his grandparents. I was filming the game for my station, and I see freshman Gavin coming out of the bullpen. He threw 105 miles an hour, but he wasn't very accurate yet. And then he became a starter later on. He ended up going in the 1st round, and now he's starting for the Guardians. So the Guardians come to New York to play the Yankees in the regular season. And I go watch him pitch at Yankee Stadium, and I got on the field with my MLB Network credential, and I go and give him a hug and say hello, and we're talking and catching up on life. So when you ever have those opportunities come up to interview them, they're cool with you. You knew them years ago before they were anybody. That's the best part about meeting them in college and local and high school, all these places, when you get to do that draft stuff. It's really cool.
No, that is really cool. And yeah, it's funny. I can tell you, you know, some of my first interviews I had when I went to the Senior Bowl in person. And it's just funny. Isaiah Wynn from Georgia, this offensive lineman, I don't know if he's now with the Dolphins, I think. He might be. He was with the Patriots. He was with the Dolphins. He's like, Jake, it's okay, man. Like, I'm not going anywhere. You got me. Like, you know, we're sitting down. And because it was during media day. And just people, you know, they'll stick their camera right in your face. Or not camera, but like their microphone.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? it's kind of obnoxious. Like you have like a one-on-one interview and then you have, people that think they like, and by all means take the audio. I don't care, but it's like, can you get it out of my eye? Like I'm trying to see this person. So yeah, I'm doing the interview with him and he's so cool. And then I didn't have time to do it with a couple others, but like I really had a good conversation with Marcus Davenport, who was a first-round pick by the Saints. And I talked to Josh Allen after he won Most Outstanding Player of the Senior Bowl, and Colin Saunders, who's a Super Bowl champion, and just all these these different guys. And it's just it is really cool. Especially there were guys. There was a guy actually that you would know. Because he played for your team. He actually passed away, Jalen Ferguson.
Oh.
Yeah, him and I were in constant contact. And
wow.
Because I reached out to him. He was the sack daddy. He dominated college. He had the most sacks in FBS, and the nicest dude. Like honestly, like talked through social media. Then he came on my show. Then I met him at the Senior Bowl. He asked for a picture with me, which I've never. Gosh. I would have thought I would, but I wasn't going to ask because I feel like that's kind of unprofessional because I'm there credentialed. But he asked for a picture with me, so I did end up taking one with him, and we talked, and unfortunately, he passed away. But to your point, you kind of build that trust, you build those relationships, and I think it's so cool. It's actually why I wanted to do this type of show. It's just like I get to talk to all these people that I wouldn't otherwise be able to talk to. And obviously, like we talked on Yankees Unloaded, but it does allow me to talk to you. Like we just learned, my audience and myself learned a lot about you that Yankees Unloaded wouldn't have had the time for, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's important. Everyone deserves to be able to tell their story. And some people just have way cooler stories than others, and I'm trying to get those people on. And those are the priority. And that's what I would say about that.
Peel back the curtain. You never really know why people are the way they are and how they got to where they are. The problem with this industry and the problem with social media, everyone just thinks people got there, like they just got there.
Yeah.
No, you don't just get there. There's sacrifice. There's things that you do
Gary
to
says
get
this
to that
all the
point.
time.
I haven't even told any of the bad stories. I've really just told you the good. There's a ton of bad stories that happened to me for years prior to any kind of success. It's really hard to fulfill a dream, and athletes go through it too. I couldn't imagine eating avocado ice cream instead of real ice cream for 15 years. Couldn't imagine not drinking wine for 15 years. Couldn't imagine doing a lot of these things. Like Derrick Henry, who has a very strict diet. I couldn't, but his body is his temple. His body is his money. His body is the reason he makes all his money. Even though he's a beast, there's a reason for it. He works really hard. Most people who are successful work really hard. I was never the student in school who just got A's. I was always an A-B student, but I worked really hard for it. And I usually got those grades because I went to extra credit and extra help all the freaking time to prove that I really cared about doing well in school. It wasn't because I was a good test taker. And I only got into good schools in college because I had a huge resume. I interned since I was in 9th grade. So people work really hard. And I think it's important for people to tell those stories so that others don't think they just got there.
Absolutely. It's like I said, Gary tells me all the time. He's like, there's going to be people that will be like, where did Yankees Unload come from? Who is this Jake Ellenbogen kid? He just happened overnight. And he's like, no, oh, industry plant. It's like, I'll laugh at that. Cause if anybody, I've once been called that and I was like, where was I planted? Why was I planted? I'm not big enough to be an industry plant. You know what I'm saying? That's just silly, but no, it really, there's so much truth to that point. And, obviously what you're doing, I'm just, I'm really impressed. I'm glad we've gotten to know each other a little bit.
Absolutely.
Since, linking up for that downtown, good Lord. I have so many different shows, Yankees Unloaded. And it's just been, really cool. Just following your stuff, and you got those prop videos. Everything is now vertical video. So, you're like on it. I got to get with the program. I am not on vertical
You
video.
are.
I'm trying. I mean, like, my thing is, it's like an extra step because I record it like this, and then I gotta like piece it all together. And I'm also not a huge. The last thing I'll ask you, because I'm not a huge fan of AI. Where are you on AI? Because I do feel like, yes, it can make our lives easier, but it's starting to really kind of rear its ugly head in this space, and it's concerning because, like, for me, I don't know about you, but I've had my likeness literally copied, like background cut out and just me, and pasted in videos with those AI Rams channels. Like, it's getting bad.
AI scares me. Absolutely. There are perks to it in regards to, I've used it for a few things like writing. I'm trying to think. For example, something I'm starting up soon, I had to write like a mock-up for, and it was like fulfilling the requirements of like a rubric. So I kind of put my thoughts out there into AI, into ChatGPT. I put my thoughts out there, and I had ChatGPT kind of like put it in the rubric. And I didn't fully use it. It just helped stir up ideas and how to phrase certain things. Sometimes I'll type in like Instagram caption. They're horrible, so I never use them. Stupid things like that. What I am worried about with AI is the shortcuts. Unfortunately, we're in a society today where everyone loves a shortcut, and all these shortcuts are really unhealthy and really bad. My brother is in high school, and they all use AI to write their essays. So that means now you're not actually creating the skills that you need. You're just using AI for it, which, sure, if it's the future, it's like having a calculator. Our grandparents were pissed we had a calculator. Why should we have a calculator? You should be able to do it by hand. Now you're losing your skills because you used a calculator. It's true. My grandma could do math really well in her head. I can't do it that well in my head. I had a calculator. So all these things are just putting us backwards where people don't need it. Now, every generation has their good and their bad. Unfortunately, for my brother's generation, Gen Z, these shortcuts are getting them to like take too many shortcuts where they're not developing good skills. On the other hand, they're really creative. Gen Z's really creative. I have a lot of people who help me edit videos who are 22 years old because they just know TikTok. They know how to get in the algorithm. They know how to edit these things. I know how to edit long form. That's what I learned in college, was editing long form, like a show like this. I could edit a show like this. I can edit a movie. I could edit like anything that's long form video production. I could do. I can't. The TikTok editing that they do, I don't know how they do it. It's incredible. All these different things that they flash in your face, and the different fonts and the different movements, and they do it so quickly, and they know how to
audio
through it.
That the whoosh, like all the different.
It's crazy, and I'm only 30, and I'm amazed at what these people can do who are 22. Then I'm also scared of what they can't do. Like, talk to people.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, I've definitely, I can definitely see that. I'm not Gen Z. I'm 29, so yeah, I definitely, I'm glad you said it though, because it's the same thing. It's how I look at it. Gary and I talk about this all the time about the analytics with baseball. You can use things as a tool, but when they become the entire picture, you're not getting the entire picture. You're actually becoming ignorant to something because you're leaving something out. The problem that
I love Trouble with the Curve. Great movie.
The problem with people is that with AI, they don't understand that it has to come from somewhere. It's picking from something. So, I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that I give people credit for AI channels. I cannot stand them.
We were cracking up because my brother had to write an essay, and my mom read the essay over, and she goes, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Like, and she read it like in front of us, the whole family, how amazing and proud she was of my brother. My sister looks at my mom and goes, "Mom, I hate to tell you, he definitely used ChatGPT." And my mom looked at her and goes, "Oh my God, I didn't even think about that." She didn't even like say no.
Oh
She goes,
my
maybe,
God.
my mom is, maybe I will give him a benefit of the doubt. Maybe he actually wrote it. My sister goes, he did not become an author in the last year. No, he did not write.
That's so funny. Do people realize also Chat GPT? It's like, it's not, well, at least the last time I haven't used it in a while, to be fair, but it wasn't like caught up. Like, like that, it's like 2023. I don't know, like if you use it like currently, but like the last time I used it, which was like,
I don't really use it for info. I use it for enhancing writing in a sense.
oh, people do.
I know.
What's funny is I will literally get offers, and I will not sell my soul to this, but I will get offers to have people put their AI generated shorts on my channel, and they will pay me. And I'm like, I don't want that money. And it's like, why? Because your AI generated short, you're talking about John Robinson as the head coach of the Rams. He just passed away. He's not the head coach of the Rams. He was the coach in the 80s. Like how, like whatever. See, that's the issue, is that there's always something. So, people that actually comb through things, they might actually be like, oh, AI is useful because I'm going to comb through it anyway, but it already sets me up. But if you don't comb through things and you don't have any sort of like second guessing, and you just, the letter of the law, I'm just going to follow this thing and I'm going to put it out, you are going to look ridiculous. And that's what happens, is like, I see it all the time. Some of these graphics that people post on Instagram, I'm like, that was made by AI and that looks terrible. And it's incorrect information. And like Peyton Manning didn't throw 8 touchdowns in a game. No one ever has. Like this,
And forget even those graphics, AI generated pictures making people look the way they look. It's not
I hate them so much. Grok is the worst thing to ever happen to Twitter.
I haven't even used it yet.
I haven't used it. I just see AI generated like everybody, like, oh, Aaron Judge in a, Lakers jersey. Like, why am I seeing this? Like, it's annoying. Like,
I'm going to have to look at it just to see, because I haven't even touched it. It scares me to touch.
You could essentially put in any prompt and it's going to, I mean, it's scary how some of them, they look really lifelike. The worst one, I'll tell you, as we wrap up the show, the worst one is the video, though. Like, there has to be regulation in the court of law on AI. There has to, because now you have people that are, as a joke, taking pressers and they are typing in whatever they want them to say, and they're saying some heinous stuff.
I've seen some of those.
You know how, like, people can be a little dumb on the internet and believe everything they see. I've literally had comments on my videos like, I don't even know how you can cover the Rams anymore after what Sean McVay said. And I'm like, what did he say? He's never said anything out of pocket. And then I was like, DM me what he said. I get the DM and it's one of those. And I'm like, he's not.
How do you not tell?
Like, come on. I understand it, like, the superimposing of the face and everything. Like, I understand it looks, but you can tell it's fake. Also,
absolutely.
Like, the words, like, this guy uses only vocabulary words and sounds incredibly like an upstanding, like, person and very professional and always giving credit. And yeah, he's going to start saying, yeah, this guy's trash. And yeah, he's a dirtbag. And it's like, come on, man. That's where we're at right now. So I don't know, but hey, this has been a lot of fun and really appreciate your time. And, I think, I think you're going to kill it. And I know I'm excited to see what you do as far as content, what that looks like. If you end up going the YouTube route, I'll be there, if you need anything to support you. But I've
got a lot of things coming in the next month, so stay tuned.
Oh, I'm excited. Anything you want to throw out there? Last thing for my viewers and listeners to check out?
Just check out the Prop Queen Sports, Ariel Epstein all over social media. There's a lot of really fun things coming in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. Can't and won't say anything yet. I'd want everything to be perfect and done and easy to use for people before, but it's definitely coming, and it's going to be really helpful for people who love betting props.
I love it. Well, I'll end it with this. All right. I'll end it with this. With the Super Bowl coming up, both of our teams are still in the playoffs. If there is a Rams-Ravens Super Bowl, this will not be the last time that we go on a show together. This won't be the last time we go on a show together.
The Rams
anyway.
as a long shot. If you want to bet something that has a nice payout and you need an underdog, I would take the Rams. I could see them making a run, and it would be really funny though to watch like Stafford Goff in the NFC Championship.
I don't know if you know the lore, but Detroit Lions fans tried to ruin my life.
Oh God.
Yeah. Doxed.
Yeah. Well,
home address doxed, and what was it? All my podcasts, like the audio form, 1-starred, review bombed, the whole thing.
Can you imagine what would happen if you got Rams and Lions? It'd be crazy.
If the Rams won that, I'd have to go private on Twitter.
Or you just crush everyone.
That's true. Or I could just ignore everybody. I mean, that's what
I do.
That's a good healthy alternative. But yeah, I'll probably see you at some point on Yankees Unloaded regardless. You're always welcome there, as you know. But
thank you.
Really appreciate your time. And guys, appreciate your time. Thank you. If you made it to this point in the video, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Be sure to follow Ariel at Ariel Epstein. I know your Instagram's different. The handle, I think it's
Ari Epst.
Ari Epst. Yeah, so go and follow all the socials. Links will be in the description below. But that is going to do it for episode 3. You guys take care. I'll see you guys soon.